Hello, everyone. Good morning.
Good morning.
Morning. We're starting. I think everyone's here.
Yes, ma'am.
Dear friends, we warmly welcome you to MLAC's first major offering for 2021, Responding to Change with Courage and Mindfulness. Many of us could not wait to say goodbye to 2020. It was an immensely strange and difficult year. And we give thanks that we are all here walking together. The availability of vaccines has certainly charged our hope, and yet it is also not the panacea that will bring a swift conclusion to this pandemic. We continue to face uncertainty as the planet hangs in a precarious balance, and with this, the radical changes in our economic and social lives. Now more than ever, we need to put well being at front and center of our life. Mindfulness practice is fundamental to our well being and is a necessary precondition for our healing, our personal healing, and the healing of humanity and our planet. Mindfulness allows us to pause and to look deeply so that we can proceed with wise action. Action that often requires courage. It takes courage to stop, it takes courage to step off of the frenetic life we live. It takes courage to care deeply and to allow ourselves to be changed for the better. We welcome all of you, this community that has gathered here to be mindful and courageous together. Because we are together, our collective energy of mindfulness and courage becomes stronger and more powerful. We really hope that our gathering today will supercharge your heart, body, and mind with the healing energy of mindfulness. As we begin, we'd like to remind everyone of some house rules to make this experience a wonderful one for all of us. Slides, please. Okay. Ah. So one, please keep your audio muted to avoid background noise while we are listening to our speaker and engaging in our mindfulness practices. Two, should you experience any technical difficulties, try logging out and logging back in. Three, don't hesitate to message the MLAC team in the chat box if you have any concerns or questions. Four, questions will be entertained at the designated portion of this session, and we look forward to your questions. Five, there will be times allotted for journaling and sharing in diets, so please have your journal or notebook and pen ready. To begin our mindfulness session today, here is Dr. Joanna Herrera, clinical psychologist and MLAC team member to guide us in an opening mindfulness practice. Joanna?
Thank you very much, Uzi. And warmest welcome to everyone. It's really nice to gather as a community. And as we look through the faces and the names, it brings us a lot of beautiful energy. So, the mindfulness practice that I had in mind for today as we begin this morning of mindfulness and courage is a mindfulness practice that connects us with our safe space, our inner safe space. And I just think it's very interesting that as we speak of courage, we begin with safety. And um, safety and courage are not dichotomous, although sometimes we might think they are. When we feel safe, when we're able to invite ourselves into a place of safety, it actually increases our courage and gives us the ground to be courageous. Safety allows us to come home to ourselves, our true selves. And when we are at home in our true selves, we can step into any situation grounded by our inner wisdom, our clarity, our deeper intelligence, our deeper creativity, and our courage. So I invite you today to this mindfulness practice, connecting us with our safe space. So I invite everyone to find a comfortable posture, a posture that allows us to feel stable, steady, but also calm. So perhaps grounding our feet, allowing our feet to be in touch, be in contact with the earth, feeling the contact of our bodies on the uh, solid surface we're sitting on, allowing our backs to be straight so that our breathing can flow much more easily and much more naturally, allowing our shoulders to relax. We may close our eyes if that feels safe, but sometimes it doesn't. So let's follow what our body tells us is safe and comfortable. We may also just lower our gaze or keep our eyes open. So we sit like a mountain, steady, grounded, but with our hearts open. As we begin, let's listen to the opening bell that calls us to mindfulness. We'll start by welcoming ourselves to the breath and allowing the breath to welcome us. In our busyness, in our frenzy, we lose touch with the breath. When we lose touch with the breath, we lose touch with life. So as we notice and savor our in-breath and out-breath, let us connect with the life in every breath. Taking soothing breaths, reminding ourselves that in this moment there is nothing to fix, there's nothing to change, there's nothing to do, but to be. Connecting with the life in each breath. And as we connect with the life in each breath, there is a natural union that transpires between our minds and our bodies. The life in each breath connects us with one another. And the life in each breath connects us with all of the living world that surrounds us. Each breath being an exchange of life within us, with each other, and around us. Each breath restoring our tired, busy nervous systems and bringing us to a place of relaxation, a place of restoration, a place of safety. This morning, I invite you to bring to mind a place that brings up feelings of safety, of peace, of contentment. This might be a place that you visited in the past, or it might be a completely imagined place that you develop based on things that you know help you feel safe. So, although we can't travel much these days, let's allow ourselves to take this inner adventure of journeying into our safe place. And as you bring this place to mind, consider the sensory details of this place and just take some time for each one. Allowing yourself to notice what you see as you settle in this safe space. What do you see around you? Is there lushness? Are you in an outdoor space, in an indoor space? A space that's new or unfamiliar? A space that you grew up with in your childhood? Or a space that, or a place that you visited once in your travels? What does this place look like? What do you hear in this place? In this safe place, what sounds can you hear? Is there the sound of the wind, the sound of birds, the sound of people? Let's pay attention to the sounds in our safe space. Also paying attention to what we smell. Really feeling into the safe space with all of our senses. How does this safe space smell? Is there the smell of the sea? Of a familiar scent? What is our bodily experience in this safe place? Do we feel warm? Do we feel cool? As we inhabit safe space, allowing all of our senses to awaken. Noticing the emotions that come up for us as we settle into this place. There may or may not be other people or other beings. If there are other creatures in the safe space, allow them to welcome you. Allow them to delight in your presence. You may play with them. You may get close to them if you want, or you may just watch them, whatever feels right. Imagine this safe space itself welcoming you. This place welcomes you as if your presence also completes it. This place is pleased that you are here and appreciates your presence. Savor this place and relish that this safe place is inside of you and it's ready to welcome you anytime, anywhere. So in a few moments, even as we gently will be releasing ourselves from this practice, we know that this safe space is always available to us, always welcoming us. There is always a path to this place. Before we release ourselves from this practice, just allowing ourselves to take the gift that this place has for us. Maybe there's a word or an image, an object that this safe place wants for you to take this morning. Receive it with gratitude and allow it to be part of you. Allow yourself to savor the gift. And as we gently release ourselves from this practice, we also take a deep bow to ourselves for giving ourselves this moment of real attention, this moment of welcoming ourselves into our true home, into our true selves. And as we're ready, we gently open our eyes. If our eyes were closed, we gently move our fingers, our hands, and our bodies in whatever way it needs to move. And we end with listening to the sound of our bell. Thank you very much for joining me in that mindful adventure. Thank you.
Thank you, Joanna, for guiding us into that mindfulness practice. To introduce our main speaker for today, may I call on another member of our team, Dr. Richie Parr. Richie?
Good morning, everyone. I should say good afternoon and good evening as well, depending on where you are. So I would like to introduce our main speaker for today, Dr. Maria Lourdes Arellano Carandang, known to many of us as Tita Honey. Dr. Carandang pioneered mindfulness, play therapy, and family therapy in the Philippines. She has been recognized as outstanding psychologist and outstanding alumna of the University of the Philippines, College of Social Sciences and Philosophy. She was honored as National Social Scientist in 1995 for her outstanding contribution to the field of psychology and for translating scientific principles and applying them for the upliftment of Filipino children and families. She has authored so many books, books that have helped Filipino practitioners and researchers do relevant and meaningful work. For her lifelong work with Filipino families in difficult circumstances, the Ateneo de Manila University conferred on her the degree of Doctor of Science honoris causa. She is the founder of the Philippine Association for Play Therapy, or PhilPlay, past president of the Psychological Association of the Philippines, former editor of the Philippine Journal of Psychology, and former chairperson of the Psychology Department of the Ateneo de Manila University. Tita Honey continues to practice and mentor as a clinical and developmental psychologist. In between the clients and the series of speaking engagements, she takes every opportunity she can get to nurture her own spiritual growth. And because of that, every year, she is able to respond and deepen the body of knowledge on mindfulness and both the life-changing and the commonplace elements of life. This instinctive ability of hers to recognize its principles and gain added insight from life experiences is one of her many gifts. Those of us who are blessed to practice under her guidance continue to learn from her. So, together with my fellow team members, we are deeply grateful for her generosity and willingness to invite us so that she can share what she knows and what life continues to teach her. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome MLAC's founder and president, our beloved teacher, Dr. Hani Carandang.
Gandang umaga sa ating lahat. A beautiful morning to all of us. Thank you. Thank you for
Beautiful
joining
morning.
us. Thank you for choosing to spend your morning with us today. Thank you for your presence. In this time of crisis and never-ending challenges, it's very important for us to come together, to join hearts, be together, care for each other, and to know that you belong, to know that you are not alone. So today we're talking about responding to change with courage and mindfulness. Let us pause for a moment and consider the title, Responding. Responding is an essential word that we use when we practice mindfulness. Because in the practice of mindfulness, we respond, we do not react. We know that when we react, we go from the emotion to the action. But when you are mindful and you respond, you go from the emotion, you pause before you do the action. It's actually the opposite of impulsivity. So usually when we do that, we don't regret what we do. No, we don't regret our behavior. Okay. So the changes, all of us have experienced all kinds of losses. That's the main thing. We are grieving very many losses, not just loss of lives of loved ones, loss of businesses, loss of jobs, loss of the freedom to move when you want to go somewhere, freedom to travel, the freedom to go and leisurely take a walk in the malls, do some kind of retail therapy, and so on. We have experienced all these losses and continue to experience them. And we also didn't have the opportunity to go to movies, concerts, and things that we usually do in order to cope with certain feelings or anxiety, uncertainty. We do certain things to feel better for the moment. But these are the things we were not able to do and still not able to do, some of them. So, but it's also important to know that in the pandemic, we also discovered many things. We're able to stop and look at maybe the family members that we may have taken for granted. Some people have reconnected with old friends. A friend of mine called her mom after not talking to her for 20 years. So there is also this reconnection that happened, no? Aside from that, most of you may have done some creative activities. My friends have, baked bread, created different recipes, did gardening. So it also gave us the space and time to bring out our creativity, our talent, and to express ourselves because we had the time and space. So those are the two aspects or the two things that happened when we were in the pandemic, which we are still now. So the challenges continue. So how do we live now with courage? Okay, let's look at the word courage now. And we know that the root word is the Latin word cor, which means heart. So Pema Chodron, beloved mindfulness teacher, asks us, how do we live wholeheartedly in a broken-hearted world? So the courage comes in here. And let me just briefly talk about the dictionary definition of courage as a basic start. Courage, the dictionary says that the courage is the ability to do something that frightens one, or it is the strength in the face of pain and grief. It is also to have courage is to do something difficult when there is a risk. So some examples are dramatic in our history, some examples are subtle, some are really very clearly acts of bravery. Of course, our heroes, Bonifacio, Rizal, Gabriela Silang, Ninoy Aquino, or our present day heroes. Maybe I can mention Maria Ressa, speaking the truth in spite of all the odds against her, and people who are truth tellers. And we know that sometimes, or most of the time, truths now are hard to believe, hard to say, because it's hard for many people to believe. So, let me give you another very simple example of children, courage of children. Of course, we heard very long time ago there was a 10-year-old boy who rescued his sibling from a fire that razed their house to the ground. But there is also a more subtle example of a little girl, an 8-year-old girl during the pandemic. She is a daughter of a friend of mine, and she temporarily lives in London with her because she's doing further studies. And in individualistic cultures, they do not like to wear masks, especially in the beginning of the pandemic. So her mother told her to wear a mask, and she wore the mask to school. At the time, London was not locked down in spite of the pandemic. It took them some time to lock down. So she wore a mask, a face mask, the whole day going to school, and her classmates were teasing her. She was a Asian in this culture, and the classmates were teasing her, but she just stood there courageously, wore the mask, wore it again the next day. That's a real act of courage for an 8-year-old girl to do that. Another way to think of courage is the courage or courage, how you pronounce it, is to tell the story of who you are with your whole heart. Easier said than done, because it's not easy for many of us, for most of us, I think for all of us, to know who we truly are. Because as we grow up, we have defenses, we have ways of looking at ourselves, we have our self-concept based on what people tell us about ourselves. So many things come into who we are, and sometimes it's not really the bottom line of who we really are. So there is a thing as journey towards authenticity. It's not easy. We'll talk about that later. But Maya Angelou, everybody knows Maya Angelou, the poet, phenomenal woman, maybe better known as the mentor of Oprah Winfrey, said that courage is the most important virtue of all. Because without it, we cannot practice any other virtue consistently. So let me digress a little bit and share a personal experience with you. During the new year, you may have seen this in another show. During the new year, we usually have New Year's resolutions. And I've stopped doing that for many years. Just to share a little bit with you, I started choosing virtues that I would like to cultivate during the year. So first I started with authenticity, which just took several years. And then most recently, I picked 4 virtues that I wanted to cultivate in the past 3 years, 3 years ago rather. One was humility, then equanimity, letting go, and loving kindness. Beautiful virtues, but if you look at how they are, HELL, hell. Oh my God, I said, wait, cannot be hell. So I added an S, which is a very, very important virtue to me, or very important practice, which is solitude, silence, stillness, sacredness. So it became shell. So my virtues now are in a shell. It's taken me a very long time, and I don't think I have really truly cultivated all these virtues. That's why mindfulness is a practice. You never can make it perfect, and that's okay. That's what it is supposed to be. It's supposed to be a practice. When you fall, you stand up and you do it again, and you don't berate yourself. You just say, okay, I didn't do it today, I'll do it again. So it's a practice also that makes you kinder to yourself. Okay. So now, how do we live with this uncertainty, with courage and mindfulness? I think the first thing to realize is that protecting ourselves from pain, our own pain, and that of others, has never really worked. It's the easiest thing to do. We distract ourselves, but it has not worked. Instead of shying away, we need to arouse the bravery and the courage and take a good, honest, direct look at ourselves. We look inward instead of outward. And we learn to stay with our emotions of fear, sadness, grief, happiness, whatever the emotion is. We learn to stay with the emotion and not to deny. That requires courage. But if we gradually increase our capacity to be present to the world, to our pain, and to the suffering of the world, we will surprise ourselves with our own courage. Because when we numb ourselves and not allow ourselves to be vulnerable, we cannot have self-compassion, and we cannot easily empathize with others. Because we cannot numb ourselves selectively. We cannot numb our vulnerability selectively. When we numb ourselves to the fear and the pain, we numb ourselves to feel deep joy and gratitude as well. So let us befriend our vulnerability. Let's not be afraid to cry, to feel pain, feel sadness, and to ask for help when we know that we cannot do it anymore. For me, it takes courage to be vulnerable. That's a beautiful paradox. You have to be brave in order to be vulnerable. Okay, let me share with you one technique, a very easy technique on how we deal with our vulnerability and how we deal with intense emotions. It's called RAIN. It's an acronym, RAIN. We reign on our intense emotions. What it means is the R stands for we recognize our emotion. Instead of distracting ourselves and denying it, we recognize I'm feeling afraid. I'm feeling sad. Whatever, whatever you're feeling. And then A is you allow yourself to feel it. As you recognize it, you allow. It's not easy. You allow yourself to feel it. Feel it here. No, not just to say it. I feel afraid. And then I means to investigate what it is to you, and to investigate maybe there's a part of your body where you're feeling it. In my practice, it's usually here in my heart. And then N is to nurture it. So you nurture it, you be kind to yourself, have self-compassion, and usually I touch my heart and I nurture that feeling, physically touching my heart. Oh, okay, as I said earlier, courage is to be able to tell the story of who you are with your whole heart. Everybody now knows Amanda Gorman, right? The youngest inaugural poet, the black, brilliant, young, 22-year-old woman, young woman poet. At this point, I'd like to quote her when she said, "How do we find the light in this never-ending shade? For there is always light. If only we are brave enough to see it. If only we are brave enough to be it." Okay, how? How do we do that? For me, one of the best ways to do that, find the light, find the courage, etc., is the practice of mindfulness. I think I've talked about this so many times, but let me just review for those who already know it, that mindfulness, first of all, mindfulness is not just meditation. I think there's a misconception when you say mindfulness, it's meditation. Mindfulness is a practice, a way of life that includes a formal practice, which is meditation. But it's a practice you do every moment of your life, with, apart from meditation. Okay. So, let me just say this because I think it's important for us here in the Philippines, the East. If you read about mindfulness, and there are thousands and volumes of books, videos, etc., about mindfulness. But let me just say that basically we define mindfulness as the practice of being aware or paying deliberate attention to what is happening inside us, in our mind, in our heart, in our body, and what is happening around us at the present moment without judgment or non-judgmentally. That is the Western definition, which started in the West. Mindfulness movement started in the West about 40 years ago by John Kabat-Zinn in the University of Massachusetts, and it has spread like proverbial wildfire. The spread of this practice, or the definitions, researches, etc., on mindfulness has gone really, really wild. But let me just remind you that in the East, 2,500 years ago, and more than that, the same definition is given, no? But it ends with coupled with warmth and kindness. So paying deliberate attention to what's going on inside you and around you in the present moment with warmth and kindness. So I think that last part is very important for us. Okay. Now let's look at some, just to go, I think what's important now is I will not go into all kinds of definitions anymore or theories, because I would like you to have time for questions. For me, it's very, very important. It's the most important part of this encounter we have is your questions. The most fruitful part of any talk I have are the questions. And I would ask you, request you, really urge you to ask questions, and we will have a very good time and a very fruitful morning if you do that. So I trust you to do that after. What I want to do now are just give some simple mindfulness practices that we can do in everyday life. Okay? First is, it's not in order, by the way. No, it's up to you which one you want to do first, or you want to do or not do. It's really all entirely up to how you take it, what's meaningful to you, and what makes sense to you. That's the only important thing. How you put your own meaning to it and you own it. And therefore it's part of you. That's the most important thing. So I'll just say it randomly. First, although not necessarily the first, is be still. Have time to pause and be with yourself. And maybe ask the question, what is truly important to me? What really matters to me in my life? Maybe we can be helped by the Dalai Lama or in Jack Kornfield saying this, and I quote, in the end, what really matters is how well you lived, how well you loved, and how well you learned to let go. That's the hardest part. Okay, but that's very important. Another practice is to be in nature. Surround yourself with the healing power of beauty, with the healing, uplifting, refreshing power of nature. At this point, let me pause and ask you to do a very simple exercise using the image of nature that from Thich Nhat Hanh. He uses the images of nature for meditation. So at this point, we'll imagine we're in nature, or maybe you are really can be in nature, or you can just look at a picture of nature, whatever it is, just imagine in your mind this one. No? So we'll do a 3-minute meditation on what is called water reflecting. Okay, what I'll do is I'll explain first the image. I'll talk about the image, and then I'll ring the bell. And when I ring the bell, we will pause and go inward and pay attention to your breathing. Just breathe normally, but put your mind into your breathing. Okay, so and then we will look at a certain beauty of nature that we will try to meditate on. This time we will try to now imagine a lake on top of a mountain. The water is very still. It's very calm. There are no waves, no ripples, and it's very, very still. Therefore, it reflects the actual beauty of the sky and the trees. It reflects the real beauty of the sky and the trees. It's like us. When we are calm and still, we can receive the truth from the outside world. But when we are not calm and our water is troubled, or it's muddy, or it's turbulent, we cannot reflect the truth of the other person. We cannot receive the truth as it is because we distort it. So in order to receive the truth as it is from the world or from the other person, we need to be still. So we reflect what is really out there. We try to do a meditation on that, if it's okay with you. Okay, so we'll start with Okay, make sure your back is straight. Sit in a position, very comfortable position where your back is straight. Back is straight and strong, a strong back and a soft heart. So your back is straight, your heart is open to receive, but you have strength to back you up. So you have a strong back and a soft front. And you sit in a comfortable position with dignity. Okay, so as you breathe in and out, start paying attention to your breathing. We'll do 3 breaths. In, out, in. I will ring the bell, and for 3 minutes you will do the reflection, the meditation in and out, and then after 3 minutes the bell will ring and we will finish that meditation. So when you're doing the meditation and you're breathing in, you say water reflecting. Then when you breathe out, you say the truth. Water reflecting the truth. Water reflecting the truth. Water reflecting. Water reflecting. Water reflecting. Just go that way. You know the image in your mind. The calm water. Okay, we start. There's a 30-second preparation for you. Make sure your body is comfortable. Okay. Think of the lake. The water is calm and still, reflecting the truth. It's called water reflecting. Few seconds and the bell will ring, and just you do that on your own. You may close your eyes if you want. The still lake on top of a mountain. Very calm, very still, reflecting the truth, receiving the truth. And clear water reflecting. Your mind goes out there to somewhere, just come back to your breathing. Clear, calm, still water. When you're ready, gently open your eyes. I hope that refreshed you. Okay. You can do that on your own. You can do it for 3 minutes, 5 minutes. Or if you've been meditating for some time, maybe 10 minutes. It's really up to you. Okay. Let's go back. Let's go on. So the other practice that's very, very effective is we've been doing this. Many people have been doing this. Is connect to the arts, music, dance, poetry, painting, play, creative cooking, gardening, etc. Everybody's been doing that. But going through the arts, doing something that's creative into the arts, we get in touch with vulnerability inside now. Because without vulnerability, we cannot create. Think about it. Artists know this. They have to be in touch with their vulnerability before they can create something from within to the outside. No? Okay. Another one is, of course, cultivate play. Be able to play. Not just children are not the only ones who should play. We should play too. Do something that's just pleasurable, without a goal, without a structure. Just do what you enjoy. Play. When you do art, you play. When you sing, you play. When you dance, you play. Okay. So, and another one is have a ritual. For example, you do mindful walking, mindful eating, mindful shower. For a lot of people, this has worked. It cuts their frenzy of the day. It cuts their overactive energy when they do like mindful eating. When you sip your coffee or your tea, what are you doing when you're drinking your coffee? When you're drinking your coffee, you're drinking your coffee. That's mindful drinking. You're not thinking of your problems. You're not texting. You're not looking at your cell phone. You are drinking your coffee and you are totally present, smelling the coffee, tasting it, the temperature, the taste of it. And that's where you totally are at the moment. That's a mindful moment. Many people have told me that what has helped them initially, because it's not easy to practice this right away, is mindful shower. When they're showering, they feel the water and the soap smooth in the arms, and then they feel the shower on the back, warm on the back, really relaxing the body. Feeling it, being actually totally present to the moment. That's very, very refreshing. Okay, so have a kind of, choose one and then practice it during the day. And the interesting thing is if you practice 2 or 3 mindful moments during the day, or even just 2, it actually changes the quality of your day. And if you practice it daily, changes the quality of your life. Okay, another one that we can do is give back. Do some service. We all know this, but do it mindfully, no? Because it says now when you help, you heal. When you help, you heal. Okay. Another one is practice generosity. The essence of generosity is really letting go. The main point is not so much that we give, but that we unlock our habit of clinging. When we are giving, we are letting go. And we stop the habit of clinging. We may cling to our things, we may cling to our attachment to our views. So we cannot hear the view of another person. We cling to many things. We cling to relationships that are now no longer working. We cling to many things. So when you're generous in your heart, you can know where you are clinging and letting go and let it go. Okay. And also very good now, even if it's COVID, you can do this either physically in an open, safe space or virtually. Be with like-minded people. So you feel a sense of belonging, a sense of connection with and a sense and support. Very essential for us to go through any crisis. Then of course share yourself with others. You know what I mean with that. Appreciate little things with gratitude. The way the leaves are blown by the wind, the way the light shines on somebody's face, the way she moves her fingers, whatever, just little things with deep appreciation. It's an interesting practice. Okay, another one. I like this one too. Look at what makes you come alive. Find out what makes you come alive. What are you, what you're calling, or what stirs your soul? Put it more poetically, what stirs your soul? No? Uh, Honor it, because it. Somebody said, don't look at what the world wants you to do, but know what makes you alive, because what makes you alive is what the world needs. I remember a friend. He started. He retired, and his life was like, he didn't know what to do. There was like, what is the meaning of my life now? And he started to tune in with what really, his memories of what really stirred him inside, and it was music. So he started to do music. Hear music first, do music, just be, or surround yourself with music, or create music, sing, find an instrument that you can play, and so on. No? So it's important to know what makes you alive, because that is what the world needs at this time. And you give it to the world, and people around you start to be happy. You affect everyone that you encounter when you know what makes you alive and you practice it. No? Okay, again, know the roots of suffering, and know that the roots of suffering start with resisting the certainty that no matter the circumstances, uncertainty is all what we truly have. Again, the root of our deeper suffering, is that if we resist the certainty that no matter what the circumstances, uncertainty is all we truly have. And that is what we have now. No? But what we call uncertainty can also actually be the open quality in a given moment. We're curious, we're open, we don't know what's going to happen, but we're open, we're curious, we want to find out. So our hearts are open. No? Okay. Anyway, if you have any questions, please note them down. Okay, and then share the inspiration, maybe lastly. Share, one next to the last, share the inspiration to rest in uncertainty, to trust and rest in the present moment. And for most of us, to rest in God. Okay, and last but not least, and most, I want to end with this. Most basic of all, when you're tense, whatever you're feeling, go back to your breath. If you think about it, the only thing that is always with you every moment of your life is your breath. When you're sleeping, when you're angry, when you're hungry, when whatever it is that's happening with you, the one that never ever leaves you in your entire life, every single moment of your life, that's always with you, faithful all the way until you're no longer alive, is your breath. And we take it for granted. So use your breath. When you're very frightened, your breath is shallow. So even just exhaling, you feel yourself calming down, more relaxing. Okay, let's celebrate the breath with this last thing that I want to do with you. I'm going to sing the breathing song with you once, and then sing it with me the second time. Okay? Deal. We'll open your mics, whatever that technical thing requires. Okay, so here we go. The breathing song goes in, out, deep, slow, calm, ease, smile, release, present moment, wonderful moment. Join me. In, out, deep, slow, calm, ease, smile, release, present moment, wonderful moment. Thank you for this wonderful moment with you.
Thank you for the reminders to be mindful and also for the continued inspiration, Tita Hani. Um, at this point, we would like to give you some time to reflect on the points of the talk of Tita Hani. In a while, participants will also have the opportunity to share reflections in a dyad. So we would like you to reflect on this question. What insights from the talk speak to my personal journey? I will repeat. What insights from the talk speak to my personal journey? Alternatively, you may use the reflection time to express yourself through art, meaning drawing, coloring, or using any form of art that moves you. So, when we started, we reminded you to have your pens and your paper ready. Okay? So, we'll give you this time now to reflect on this question. We hope you enjoyed your reflection time. Now we will be randomly assigning you to a partner for a dyad sharing. This is a practice of deep and compassionate listening. This means giving the gift of full presence. We suggest that you refrain from any advice giving or problem solving. The gift of compassionate listening is more than enough. Each person will have 3 to 4 minutes to share, and then you will be signaled to take turns. There will be a timer in each of the breakout rooms to let you know when you are about to rejoin the big group.
Hello.
Hello.
Hi.
Hello po, good morning.
Hello.
Hi Miss
Hello
Chris, hi Sir
po.
Rafi.
Hello. In the group. Good. Hello.
Sorry, we will still assign you first. Give us a short while.
They're still doing a breakup because we paired up or something.
Nakikita mo na yan. Patay.
Fine.
We're in the process of putting you in the breakout rooms. Please kindly wait. Thank you. You will receive an invitation. Kindly accept that when it appears on your screen. Thank you.
Just making sure you won't be paired with an MLAC member. Okay. Hello.
Hello.
Hi. Are you done? You asked for help.
Yes, I think we're not sure what exactly. Like, are we going to share the journal that we write earlier?
Yes, whatever you feel comfortable sharing for just a few minutes. Maybe you can take
Right.
names if possible. Thank
Okay.
you.
Okay. Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, Ma'am Malu. It's Chris. Sorry, hindi nag-join kasi yung... Oh, you're on mute po. Oh, I can't hear you. You're on mute. Hindi nag-join kasi yung sa group niyo po eh. So, wala kayong kausap at the moment. Sorry about that. And I also can't hear you. I'll just bring you back po to the main session, okay? Okay.
Welcome back. We hope you enjoyed your sharing. At this point, we would like to invite 3 participants to share their reflections in the big group. You may raise your hand in the participant box, and we will call on the first 3 volunteers. When we call your name, please unmute your audio and share. Anyone?
Hello.
Hello.
I think someone
Hello.
wants to
What's
share.
that? I think someone wants to share. What's that?
Yes.
Tito Sunny.
Hmm.
Yes, please. Tito Sunny, can you also open your camera so we can see you?
Wait. I'm not dressed for the occasion though.
Okay, that's fine.
Yeah. So I met Ying. We talked about this session. She found it. And I did too. Very relaxing and very informative. Hello.
Yes, thank you, Tito Sani.
Mm-hmm.
Anything else? How about you, Tito Sani? How did you find the exercise, the exercises?
I've always enjoyed their exercises. I've always enjoyed Hani's and your seminars. I've always attended. So
Yes,
I
Tito
really
Sani
enjoyed
is a regular attendee. Thank you very much, Tito Sani, number one, for being here with us and also for
Okay, thank
sharing
you.
your
Thank you.
thoughts. We hope to see you again soon.
Okay, yes, and thank you for letting me join.
Thank you, Tito Sani.
Okay, bye.
Anybody else who would like to share? We apologize for those who were not able to talk during the dyad. Some participants may have um, failed to accept the invite. No, and this is the beauty of mindfulness. We are also still trying to learn the technicalities of the Zoom rooms. So it's okay, but maybe those who were not able to share in the reflection, would you like to share now in the big group? As
Uzi,
Dr. Joanna said, we would love to hear from you.
yes. Uzi, we can also, they can also message us in the chat box if they, if they're inspired to share insights from the journaling or even the mindfulness practice that we did, anything that they want to bring in.
Yes, if you're kind of shy to open your video, you may chat it to us and we will read it. Maybe we can have two more, no, Joanna?
Sure, yes.
I am very tempted as a teacher to call on somebody, but I'm restraining myself because I will end up calling those that I know or the people who are here shown in my screen.
Somebody
Do I
says,
do I do I read
Oh,
this
okay. I
correctly?
think that's
Shawana
Yang.
Peterson?
No, it's Shauna.
It's
Shauna.
Shauna. Shauna,
Hello.
please. Hello.
I just also happen to be the sister of Sunny Santos.
Oh, okay. I'm
And
also
a few
always
other
here.
people who are on here, Boots Bonifacio and Marilyn Jorge.
Welcome.
Hi. I just wanted to share one of the things we discussed in our chat room was that this pandemic, the silver lining in this pandemic is being able to be more reflective because we had time to be reflective, and also being able to use the time of just being alone at home and not having busy things to do, to be more mindful about everything we do because we have time to do it, and to be also more prayerful because being alone at home allows us to do that.
That is so true. Before, because we have to fight traffic, we have so many things to do. All of a sudden, we we have this precious time, no, to be reflected, to be prayerful. It seems like the pandemic gave us time back to
Yes, and
be.
now is the time to take advantage of it.
That's right. That's right. Thank you so much. So
Thank
maybe
you.
one more sharer. There are three. Oh, there are
We
three
have
now participants.
Ina, and then we have Ira.
Okay, shall we start with Ina then?
Yes, hi, good morning. I hope you don't mind. I'll just keep my video off to save bandwidth. But
Sure, sure. Thank you.
if that's fine, but I just wanted to share that it's been great listening to Dr. Honey and the rest of the team. I was in a discussion with Marcia earlier on, and we both shared that we actually took leave today to be able to join. And I think just looking at that simple step really culling out time from the busy schedule and really reflect on what's most important. I think that reflects as well how the current pandemic has been taking all of us out of our usual pace and workload responsibilities to just really look within and on mindfulness, what Dr. Honey said about going back to nature, um, appreciating small things. I think that's a rare that's such a rare and precious time for ourselves, and be humbled or be in awe at something that we usually take for granted. So I think that's a takeaway for me, and a lot of other things to reflect on from what Dr. Honey shared. Thank you.
Thank you, Ina. And maybe lastly, Ira.
Uzi, we actually have two more. We have Ira and we have Yang. Yang
Sorry,
volunteered
sorry.
earlier, but we just didn't see her. Yeah. Thank you.
Okay, so maybe Ira first and then yeah.
So, good morning to everyone. I had the pleasure of talking with Miss Reese earlier, and one of the things that we found in common from the meditation earlier is that it gave us some time to find peace in our lives, and we were discussing how um, hectic and how busy life can be, and just being able to join this meditation, this workshop, is giving us the space to find something that will give peace to our lives and something that we can find pleasure in. And that was what um, was very insightful when I listened. And that's all. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Ira. And finally, can we have Yang? Yes, the time, no? The time that it seems that time, the precious time was given back to us with this pandemic. Can we have Yang now, please, to share? Thank
Hi,
you.
good morning. Yes, I also had I was blessed to be shared to share with Sir Sonny. It was a very healthy conversation for 3 minutes. And yes, I must admit that I became very vulnerable. I also took off from work like Ina because I felt I really needed to do this. I need to see again Dr. Hani so I will be able to ground myself again. And there are actually many things that sunk into me during the talk. And one of the very powerful um part of that was vulnerability. Without vulnerability, we cannot create. So I've been doing a lot of care talks, self-care talks because of the COVID. And I realized that I also need it. No? When I talk, as I talk about it, I felt I need it. Kanina, just to share something very personal to me. When we were doing the water reflecting, and Dr. Hani mentioned safe space. I was trying to put myself in nature, but the image of my mom was coming to me. I felt that was my safe space. And sorry, vulnerability. Now I am vulnerable. And yeah, because this really allowed me to accept that her death really was so painful, and I've been trying to be strong. But yes, I need to be vulnerable for now. So I'll be able to be stronger.
Yes.
Thank you so much, Mom. Being with you really, it really gives me that grounding feeling. And now I will be able to sip my coffee because when you said, this is verbatim when you said, what are you doing when you're drinking your coffee? When you're drinking your coffee, you're drinking your coffee. I wrote it down. And
Right.
yes, thank you so much for this. This made me human again. This made me grounded again. And yes, thank you so much. It's being with you, ma'am, even virtually.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you.
The team is asking.
Thank you, Miss Yang. For many of us, Tita Hani is our safe space. So, thank you for sharing that.
Thank
Tita
you so
Hani,
much.
I was saying that for many of us, Tita Hani, you are our safe space. So, having that image of your mom and
Yes.
being vulnerable, I think
Yes.
I like what you said, that accepting your vulnerability will allow you to be stronger. That is
Yes.
so true.
Beautiful.
Thank you so much. Thank you so
And
much.
also the image of you sipping coffee is very affirming to me. I was doing the same thing, but not being mindful about sipping the coffee. I think we have one last. It's this is a very Filipino thing. We have last and last. So, Sir Luis, may we hear from you, Sir Luis Flores?
Where is he? Where are you?
First, Sir Luis, can you unmute yourself, please?
There,
There you are.
Oh, there he is.
Right. No, I just wanted to make a passing comment. I was talking with Ildemar, who happens to be a student. Ildemar, you can jump in whenever you want, of psychology, getting his PhD in Mindanao.
Yes, sir.
And
I'm
he's
here.
studying CBD, right? CBT,
Yes,
cognitive
sir. Yes,
behavior
sir.
therapy.
Yes, sir. Yes.
That's right. And I think what's worthwhile sharing is the idea that taking off from what's Honey pointed out, that there's a similar situation, and then usually when there's stimulation, if we react, if we're reactive, then we immediately take action. And so it's the importance of, in the face of a similar situation, to pause rather than being reactive. And so, and then respond and then take action. Now, the reason why this is important is because then we can own our responses rather than being more or less like a puppet being pulled or controlled by the environment that we are in. See? And this is very important because, again, we can own our reaction and eventually own who we are in essence rather than being controlled by environment. So that was the outcome of our discussion with Ildemar. And I'm sorry, Ildemar, if I took, if I did let you speak as well, but if you want to jump in and add to what you want, it's your turn.
Thank you.
I learned many things from you, sir, and that was very generous conversation with you. The diet was so unexpected that we have a lot of things to share, but we have limited time. That was great, and that was it. We will own our response, and by owning the responses, we have to own first the gap or the pause before we react. Thank you very much, sir, for that
Well, thank you too. It
acknowledgement.
was nice meeting and talking to you.
Yeah, yes, sir. Thank you for your being generous also.
Okay.
Thank you, Sir Luis and Eldemar. Thank you, Eldemar, Sir
Yes, ma'am.
Eldemar. Thank you
Ildemar.
so
Yes.
much.
Thank
Yes.
you.
I think somebody would Miss
Show the
Chell
art.
share her art.
Yes.
Yes, please.
Shell.
Please unmute yourself. Can you unmute yourself, please?
Wow. Okay.
Wow.
So that's what I did.
Yeah.
Safe space. Because when we were doing the reflection on safe space, for some reason I saw the cross as you brought it up. I think you mentioned it, no, Dr. Honey? So yes, so this is, I just somehow, I didn't think, I just drew. Yeah, so I just like to share that. There, that's it. And I also had a
Thank you.
wonderful diet conversation with Trina. Yes, so thank you for that opportunity. Thank you, everyone.
Thank
Thank
you.
you, Miss Chell. That was so nice. Nice of you to share your reflection painting, drawing to us. At this point, we are open to questions.
Oh, here we go.
You can now ask your questions to Tita Honey. Any points of clarification or
Sharing.
sharing?
Make me happy.
She becomes really happy when you ask questions.
Waiting.
We're waiting for you to ask questions. You can raise your hand again, or you can just unmute yourself and ask the question.
Hi, Tita Honey.
Hi.
Hello. Who was that?
This is Rafi.
Hi, Rafi. Oh, it's Rafi. Hello. Hi,
I
Rafi.
just
You
wanted
can ask
to-
your question.
Yes.
Hi, Rafi. Yes.
Now, I just wanted to know. It actually, I was sharing. Part of my sharing would be that, with everything that I'm doing right now, it's many times I'm looking at helping others and trying to make things better for the school and everything, all these other things that I work in. So it struck me when you said, look at the things that make you come alive.
Okay.
Now, question would be, there are so many things that make me happy, but I don't know, how do you actually find what makes you come alive? I think there's a difference between, okay, these are things that make me happy, but how can you find what makes you come alive?
Yeah, that's a good question, right? Not easy. So many things can make you happy. Another person, you can see somebody being happy because you're there. You're happy, so sort of external, no? I think one difference might be that when you connect with what makes you come alive, you connect with a deeper part of you, of the which touches your soul. I mean, to use that word, it touches your soul and really touches you very deeply inside. It may not be obvious to people. It may be coming from somebody's behavior, but something, look back and know what was that moment when you felt truly, truly touched inside, that you became very alive, became, something was stirred in you very deeply. What was that moment? And what made it happen? Was it something, what touched you deeply and made you feel joy inside? Can we ask Rafi? Maybe one thing?
Well, one thing for sure would be actually, some deep connection that I have. I mean, spiritually,
Yes.
there are moments wherein it's just me in my prayer life, and I was able to gather my family into that as well, and that's one thing that's very deep for me. It's
Yes.
this it's current spirituality that I'm trying to go through right now. So
Yes.
it does make me come alive. But I was thinking, how different is that from something that I'm happy about also?
Yeah. I think what makes you come alive makes you happy. Okay, but I'm not sure if the little things that make you happy can actually make you come alive deep inside.
Right.
Maybe, I don't know if that helps.
Right.
Yeah, so I think when you remember that moment, there may be many, many moments when you felt happy, but there may be that moment felt more like deep joy because it's a spiritual thing.
Correct.
I think the core of that, the core of what makes you alive is when you touch your spiritual core.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
It does. Thank you so much.
Thank you for your question. It even clarified it for me.
Thank you.
I like questions.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Rafi. many people do not know this, but Rafi actually was part of the team before
Yeah.
in the clinic.
In the
So
1990s.
yeah, in 1990s. All right, do not
Wow.
remind us of our age. So thank you for joining us, and thank you for that. That also clarified some things for me.
Yes.
Being happy and coming alive can be two different things, no, or not necessarily the same thing. I like what Tita Hani said. Happiness and joy. No, so maybe the coming alive is more joyous because it stems from within, and happiness is can be external. So thank
Yes.
you for that. We have another question here from Lorena, Tita Hani, Lorena Liamson. How do we slowly introduce mindfulness to children and teens?
Nice. Okay. There are actually exercises that some schools are already doing, no, to put mindfulness into the curriculum. And some of the team members might want to answer because we have certain exercises that are really for kids. For example, they lie down and they pay attention to how their stomach rises and comes down, something like that. Or maybe music, maybe music and art, because normally young children are really actually mindful innately, until we put all kinds of thoughts and labels and judgments onto them. So if they're very young children, like for example, my post just turned 5, she's very mindful. Whatever she does comes from inside her, expresses it, and she's also very mindful of what's going on around her. So children, when they are not uh, corrupted, when they are not influenced very much by the adults, are usually mindful. And the best way that children can be children is to play. So what I would suggest, I think the most important activity where the children are truly who they are, no judgments, they can come out from what's inside them and impose it on the outside world, which is the opposite of their lives. Their lives are ruled by adults who decide what school they go, where they live, etc. But when they play, they can look inside them, and what's inside them can come out, and they are the ones to impose it on the outside world. So the mindfulness is there, it's inside them, they're aware. If we don't clutter them with all kinds of things, they are already aware. So we can have exercises of play, free play, art, music, just listening to the sounds around them, or maybe just looking at what their bodies can do, little things that will make them pay attention and also interest them. But it's just so that whatever is inside them can come out because they are truly mindful. And also, as I keep saying, children are innate truth tellers until the adults in society teach them to lie. So in the same way, they're mindful, they're aware until we teach them or we label them or we tell them that what they're feeling is not right, it's not true, don't do that, don't do this. So I think we go when children already have that label because of the adults, we can go deeper and through play, through art, through innate things that they want to do, they can go back to who they are, and that's being mindful. Okay, one exercise is you lie down and listen to all the sounds that you hear. Maybe there's a truck, or maybe there's a bird, whatever. And then look at the senses, or what are the tastes that they taste. So maybe you can start, they're young children, you can start to the senses, different senses that they can particularly use and focus on something. I don't know, does that answer your question? Something like that. Maybe any team member might want to pitch in. Chris? Does that answer the question? Where's the question? The person asking. Lorena.
Yes.
Yes, thank you, Tita.
Oh, there you are. Yeah, hi.
Yeah.
Can create exercises using their senses, but knowing that they already are mindful if we remove the labels and the shoes that we have imposed on them.
Thank you.
Thank you. Lamaha.
Tito Han, there's another question. I'm assisting Uzi as filter the questions from Hannah Mamawal.
Okay.
She's asking, can you tell us more about the journey of authenticity? Are there stages?
Wow. Okay. Maybe I'll just talk about my experience partly and also what I've done before. No? Authenticity, I think, to go into who you truly are, first of all, is our lifetime journey. And before I talk about how, I'd like to say something I feel is very important is that you're here on this earth only to be who you truly are. Think about it. There are billions of people in this world, and you're the only one who is you. Who are you? Nobody else is like you. So you're supposed to be here so you can be who you are and give and do what you can do for yourself to be the best person that you are. Because when I die, for example, God will not ask me, Honey Carandang, why weren't you Mother Teresa? Right? He will only ask me, why weren't you who you are? So that's the bottom line. And I think one of the most important ways, practices to get back to your true self is, of course, silence, solitude, stillness, and giving yourself that silence, that moment, mindful moment of silence to go within. And then the practice of allowing yourself to be vulnerable, to own, recognize what you are feeling, not to distract, not to escape, not to deny. Not very easy. That's why the journey towards authenticity is not easy. So you allow yourself, open your heart, trust yourself, trust the universe that when you're alone in your solitude, in the stillness, you will be able to come out with who you truly are. And I think that practice is essential. Maybe every day you have like maybe 5 minutes of solitude where you don't think of solving anything. You just stay there and look within. Bring your mind to your sacred space inside yourself. It's a meditation also. Bring your mind to the sacred space inside yourself and rest there. And what you're feeling, who you are, will be able to come out. Let me just, this is already digression, but actually, if it's very, very difficult to do that because society doesn't allow you, your family doesn't allow you, you can do solitude, but maybe if you need help, do you know that I would sometimes define psychotherapy as the artificial hour when you can be most real. So hopefully when you go to when you go to psychotherapy, hopefully the psychotherapy is the hour when you're allowed to be who you are, to feel anything you want to feel that may be a sin to you, but to other outside world, but no feeling is a sin. Every feeling is valid. So learn to validate also your own feeling and own it without guilt because it is real.
Thanks a lot. Thanks a lot, Tita Han. Miss Ina Murillo has a question.
Yes.
Please
Yes. Hi.
ask it out.
Sure. Hi, Dr. Honey. Thank you
Hi.
again for your yes, hello. It's great to see you. Even virtually.
Yes.
I was actually with Mama while listening to your sharing, and we were particularly struck by the 8-year-old girl, courage of
Yes.
the 8-year-old
You
girl
know,
in London.
you know,
um,
Mimi.
yes, we're very proud of her as well. I think there were many things that I listed down in my notebook. But
Mm-hmm.
one thing maybe that I wanted to just probe a bit more was on I when you included giving back as part of mindfulness, and that you said when you help, you heal. I wonder, and maybe this is also true for us listening to you, where we all juggle many responsibilities, and there's that genuine desire to help, but
Mm.
how do we balance it with feelings of exhaustion, or also being
Yes.
mindful of our own needs
Yes.
to care for ourselves? So I think that's my question, Dr. Hani. I hope that's okay.
Yes. Thanks for bringing that up, because I think if we just say give back, give, I think it's not going to be sustainable, and it's also not a mindful practice, because when you give, you have to have something to give. So the first thing you do is take care of yourself. Give to yourself first. Have self-compassion before you can have compassion for others. And to do that in a practical way, just make sure you take breaks. Any kind of break, a short break, a long break, a bathroom break. Just know that it is your responsibility to first take care of yourself, so that your giving back will become sustainable. Otherwise, you will burn out. No matter how holy and how sacred and how wonderful your giving back will be, if you don't start with yourself, don't start with your nurturing and having compassion towards yourself and having breaks to do that in a very busy life, your giving back will not be sustainable. So self-care is essential. Rest is a moral obligation, I always say. Because if you don't rest, you can't do what you're doing in a sustained way. And when you don't rest, you are also kind of irritable, not so patient. So you also, if you don't rest, you also make others around you miserable. So it is a moral obligation, as all religions say, but practice rest. Thank you for the
Thank you, Dr.
question, Ina.
Hani.
Thanks,
Thank you so much,
Ina.
Dr. Hani.
Thanks, Ina. We have another question from Erica Mali. Hello, Doc Hani. Is it possible for a person to still be mindful even when he or she is experiencing intense emotions such as anger, sadness, excitement, or fear?
Definitely. Yes. In fact, that is when it would be good to practice being mindful. When you're feeling an intense emotion, anger, let's just say anger. When I'm very, very angry and I'm not mindful, I can react and shout or scream or do something to the other person, say something that I'll regret later on because I did not pause mindfully. So the intense emotion, let's say anger, when you want to handle it well, then that's when you also respond mindfully. Pause first before you lash out on someone. But I think the other question is, how do I deal with it? It's painful. How do I deal with it? Because it's so intense, it's so painful, it's overpowering me, it's overwhelming me. Maybe I'm just reading the other side of the question, right? Okay, so when you're feeling very, very intense emotion, one of the ways that, for example, my teacher, I think that deals with this, is that when you're very, very angry, think of your anger as a baby in the next room, and you're the mother. So when the baby is crying, you go to the next room and take the baby and embrace it and calm it down. The baby and the mother are both you. They are both your energy. The angry energy, the energy of anger is the baby. The energy of mindfulness is the mother. So you can calm the baby of anger inside you, and therefore you are able to deal with it, so you are not overwhelmed, overpowered by that intensity. I think that's why I've seen that practice. I made the practice, and I find it quite helpful. So there is a certain detachment that happens there, because when your emotion is very intense and you don't deal with it, it deals with you. When you don't handle it, it has power over you. But when you handle it, face it, say it, you are my anger, I will deal with you, then you have more power over it. Because what we want to happen when there's intense emotion is for us not to be overwhelmed, eaten up, or overpowered. So the image of the mother and the baby helps, because there's a certain detachment that happens and a certain empowering. The moment has to be empowering. Therefore, you are not swallowed by that intense emotion. Or else, another image is, think of a tree in a very windy and stormy day. When you look at the tree and you look at the leaves are, going back and forth as if they're gonna, just fall down or blown away. But that's the feeling, no? Then you go down to the trunk of the tree, to the roots, and you feel the roots of the tree firmly on the ground. You will find that your energy starts to get more calm, but also you feel more rooted, more solid, because even if the leaves are moving, the energy of the motion is so intense, you can go down to the trunk and go to the roots and feel your groundedness. That's just another exercise that I find quite helpful. Okay.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Doc
Thank
Honey.
you.
I think that's something we can also use for our students when we're helping them
Yes.
control their emotions. Thank you very much for that wonderful example. Po.
Yes, thank you.
Tita Honey, there's another question from Miss Lenny Sanchez. How
Okay.
is mindfulness related to EQ? Is there any connection?
Very good question. I'm glad you asked that. I was about to say something like that. Okay. Mindfulness, or EQ, is your ability to handle or regulate your emotion, right? Sometimes it's called self-regulation, emotional intelligence, which is very, very important nowadays, because for a long time we focused on the cognitive, intellectual development of people. Our schools have focused on the grades, etc., regardless of whether the person, the children, the students, or the employees ever are able to handle their emotion. Now we realize, even people who are interviewing future employees realize that EQ, or emotional intelligence, even much more important, as long as IQ is at least average. But EQ is what people look for now. Why? Because when you are not able to handle your emotion and dealing with the people around you, then you ruin everything. I mean, you can't do what you need to do. The other people are affected, etc. So mindfulness is the practice wherein you are able to regulate your emotion, which is also exactly EQ. It's almost the same. Mindfulness helps you to develop your EQ, because it helps you to self-regulate. It helps you to deal with your intense emotions without being reactive or impulsive. And therefore you can manage your emotion, and you can deal feel your emotion, but not let your emotion overpower you, so that when you deal with others, you become very angry, or you regret it because you become too intense in your emotion. So mindfulness, as well as EQ, developing EQ, is also managing and handling and regulating your emotions. Thank you for that question. They're really quite, doing the same thing.
Thank you, Dr.
Thank you. Thank you. Good question. That's Lenny pala.
Yes,
Okay, sad to say, I think that's all the time that we have for questions. So we cannot make you too happy with the honey. Sorry. However, there are some comments here that are worth mentioning. What was that? One thing from Miss Regina Goon. So glad I was able to present for this one, to be present for this one. My dilemma at my age, the question of letting go and allowing vulnerability come through can be rather difficult. Yes, isn't it? Sometimes it may seem like surrendering.
Oh, again, that's very interesting.
Yeah, she says that letting go and allowing vulnerability to come through can seem rather difficult because it seems like surrendering. So I guess that's the difference, between just being resigned and surrender, and acknowledging vulnerability.
Letting go. What's the other thing again? Sorry, before the letting go.
At her age, she says the dilemma of letting go and allowing vulnerability to come through.
Okay. Yeah.
So
yeah.
it seems like
At our age, I think we're about the same. I'm older. Okay. So allowing vulnerability and letting go, the dilemma. Okay. Yes.
Because it seems like when you allow vulnerability, you are surrendering.
Okay. Okay, can actually, you can look at them as the same things. When you allow vulnerability, you are letting go of your control over yourself, your emotion. Because usually we don't allow vulnerability because we need to control our emotions so that we don't show our weakness, so to speak, which are really our true emotions. We cover them almost every time. That's a habitual human behavior. No, we cover our vulnerability, our pain, because it's hard to bear. So we distract ourselves, we do something else. Okay, so when we open ourselves and become vulnerable, we let go of that control. So it's a letting go. But then when you surrender, you also surrender in the way of faith, in the way of spiritual surrender. When you surrender to a higher being, you are also letting go. So all of that we're talking about is a way of letting go. And when you surrender to a higher being by letting go, underneath that is a very important thing that you do is you trust. So trust has to be there for you to let go, so that you don't feel also that you are just resigning. Resigned, passive resignation means there is no trust. Passive resignation is there is no hope. But letting go of your control, letting go of your vulnerability, allowing of your control, allowing vulnerability to come out, and surrendering that pain, that what comes out of that vulnerability is an active act of faith and trust. Very different from being resigned passively. I hope that explains it.
Yes, thank you so much for that, Tita Hani. Actually, that really speaks to me because, of my control issues. And and I like that what you said, that surrendering is also an act of trust and faith. So it's not the same as being just resigned and just accepting and not doing anything. So maybe we need to practice that. And related to that, Miss Weng commented that when you talked in Palawan, you said something about do not carry too much stuff in the bag. You only carry what is necessary.
Oh yeah, there's a nice story about that in the book. No, in the book.
In the book, yeah. So she says this is a
Being
method.
married,
I'm sorry.
being married in a Martha
Being
word.
Mary in a Martha word. Yes.
Like that.
Yeah.
Because there's a story. This man was going up the mountain, and God told him to carry three things in his what is that?
A bag or
Bag or parang wheelbarrow. He was saying where you carry something. Anyway, so he said okay. So he goes up, and then there's a neighbor who says, "Pakidala naman, just carry this for me." Okay, he puts it there. And then he goes up, and then another guy says, can you? Of course, I can carry it for you, and so on and so forth. He carried so many things, maybe 8 more things. And when he got up, sabi niya, God, this is so heavy. How come I'm carrying so many, carrying so many things? And then God says, I didn't tell you to carry all those things. I told you to carry only 3 things. Why are you carrying everything else? No, that's what we do. We cannot say no. And we do not, maybe not distinguish between what we need to carry and what we need to let go of. I think that's what it means. Don't carry everything.
And Miss Yang says that she saw it as a metaphor for emotions and grudges. Forgiveness and gratitude. So
Right.
letting go.
Yes, let go. Letting go. Actually, letting go is a big thing. Because somebody said that life is a series of letting goes. Think about it until the end, which is the last, and being letting go of life.
And somehow mindfulness makes it not easier, but the practice of being mindful just day to day and just the present moment trains us in this letting go. No, Tita Hani?
Yes.
So
thinking about in the future, letting go of the past.
That's right. And being present.
Being present now.
Thich Nhat Hanh, I believe, calls it a wonderful moment. This
Yes.
wonderful present moment. No? Siguro, because we're Filipinos, last. last. Sir Albert Araneta would like you to comment on grief and mindfulness.
Wow, yeah. Grief. I think it's very important for us to realize that we are all grieving because we are actually dealing, as I said earlier, with so many losses, all kinds of losses. As I said, loss of loved ones, loss of jobs, loss of financial stability, loss of freedom to do things that we used to do. We have lost many things. So we are now grieving. And when we are grieving, how does mindfulness help us to grieve? One beloved Zen master says that when we feel, when things fall apart, when we are in grief, when we lose a lot of so many beautiful, wonderful things, or even loved ones, we have grief in our hearts. But then our hearts, we should know that our hearts are spacious enough to carry grief, to carry relief, to carry mystery, to carry joy. So mindfulness teaches us, mindfulness meditation doesn't change life. It changes our heart's ability to accept life as it is, where our hearts have grief, have joy, have mystery, have relief, and all of that our hearts can carry all at the same time. So our hearts are spacious if we allow it to open. So I don't know that
So
that
it's
helps.
opening up our hearts also. When we let go, also we open more spaces in our hearts.
Space. We know that our hearts have a lot of space to
Yes.
carry all the feelings of
We don't
grief
have to
and
choose.
relief. Yes. It's both there. Grief and relief, misery and joy are inside our big hearts.
All right. I'm so sorry to say that we really have no more time. Thank you so much for your questions and for those who shared your insights, and also for those who generously shared yourself in the reflections. And also, of course, for listening to one another and for being here. So together, let's walk mindfully and with courage. Please join us again in our next MLAC event. Watch out in our website, in our Facebook page. We regularly update that. If we have major events, we hope to see you there. There is actually a plan to have a course on mindfulness. But for now, it was supposed to be a face-to-face thing, and that's why um, we are still in the process. No? So maybe you can give us some of your insights also as to how to do this online. But we'd all like to thank you for being here, for generously sharing yourself, and for letting go of your time for your busy schedule, from your taking time off from your busy schedule to join us today. So to end our workshop today, Tessie Beth will lead us in a closing song, and we will flash the lyrics in the chat box. Tessie Beth?
There's actually a request for my mom to sing her mindfulness song, but I think it will do for, since we prepared a song by Tessie Beth. So from the team na, from my mom and the team na rin.
Yeah.
This time, let's do a mindfulness song together, which is titled Breathing In, Breathing Out, which is a song that has become like a classic song in Plum Village that has been founded by Thai Thich Nhat Hanh. The song, which is actually very simple, it contains various elements in nature that have qualities that are available inside each of us. We just have to wake them up each time, right here, right now. And in keeping with Plum Village tradition, we usually sing these songs with actions. And for this mindfulness song, breathing in, breathing out, the actions are this. Breathing in, breathing out. Breathing in, breathing out. I am blooming as a flower. I am fresh as the tree. I am solid as a mountain. I am firm as the earth. I am free. For the second stanza, breathing in, breathing out. Breathing in, breathing out. I am water reflecting what is real, what is true. And I feel there is space deep inside of me. I am free, I am free, I am free. We, Chana, and I are inviting everyone to sing together with the actions in mindfulness. All right?
Breathing in, breathing out, breathing in, breathing out. I am blooming as a
And that ends. Thank you so much, Beth. And this ends actually our session for today. Thank you everyone for joining us. And we hope to see you again in our future events. Please watch out, as I said, our website and our Facebook page for the announcements.